Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Renu Tyagi from Department of Anthropology, University of Delhi. Today I am going to speak on the module Contemporary Environmental Issues and Debates from the paper Ecological Anthropology, Cultural and Biological Dimensions. The learning objective of the module are: number 1, to examine the interactions that occur between people and their environment, and number 2, to enable the students to investigate current examples of global environmental changes, to analyze how the biophysical systems operate and how they are impacted upon by humans. Now let us have a look at the introduction. It is a high time for the human being to take the right action towards saving the earth from the major environmental issues. If ignored today, this may affect or sure to curb the human existence in the near future. Our planet Earth has a natural environment known as the ecosystem, which include all the human plants, life, mountain, glaciers, atmosphere, rocks, galaxy, massive oceans and seas. It also includes natural resources such as water, electric charge, fire, magnetism, air and climate. Technological development are resulting in resource depletion and environmental destruction. Modern technologies used in the engineering and manufacturing the industry have a major impact on our life in past few years. Due to the rapid change in the engineering and manufacturing industry, there have been drastic change in the environment. Now let us understand the different environmental problems. Our environment is constantly changing. There is no denying about the fact. However, as our environment changes, so does the need to become increasingly aware of the problems that surround it. With a massive influx of the natural disaster, warming and cooling periods, different types of weather patterns and much more, people need to be aware of what type of environmental problems our planet is facing. Global warming has become an undisputed fact about the current livelihoods. Our planet is warming up and we are definitely part of the problems. The current environmental problems makes us vulnerable to disaster and tragedies, now as well as in the future. Now we will talk about the global environmental issues. There is much to celebrate and appreciate about the world we live in. It includes our environment. However, mostly due to our actions, we are altering the environment which sustain us. It would be very difficult for us to live in an unfriendly environment. Increased human activity, urbanization, industrialization have led to the rapid deterioration of our environment. This has severely affected the supporting system. The developmental discrepancies in different regions of the world pose a serious threat to our common global environment. Consequently, we are confronted with the complex environmental issues deserving attention. The important global environmental issues are: number 1, pollution. Pollution of the air, water and soil require millions of years to recoup. Industry and motor vehicle exhaust are the number 1 pollutants. Heavy metal, nitrates and plastics are the toxins responsible for the pollution. While water pollution is caused by the oil spills, acid rains, urban runoff, air pollution is caused by the various gases and toxins released by the industries and factories and combustion of the fossil fuel. Soil pollution is majorly caused by the industrial waste that deprive the soil from essential nutrients. The other major change is the global warming. Climate changes like the global warming is the result of human practices like emission of greenhouse gases. Global warming leads to rising temperature of the ocean and the earth surface, causing melting of the polar ice caps, rise in the sea level and also unnatural patterns of the precipitation such as flash floods, excessive snow or desertification. Figure 1 shows the global warming. The population of the planet is reaching unsustainable levels as it faces the shortage of resources like water, fuel and the food. Population explosion in less developed and developing countries is straining the already scarce resources. Intensive agricultural practices produce the food damage to the environment through the use of chemical fertilizers, pesticides and insecticides. Overpopulation is one of the crucial current environmental issues according to Getgill in 2010. Natural resource depletion is another crucial current environmental issue. Fossil fuel consumption results in the emission of greenhouse gases, which is responsible for the global warming and climate change. Globally, people are taking efforts to shift to the renewable sources of energy like solar energy, wind energy, biogas energy and geothermal energy. Another important issue is the waste disposal. The overconsumption of the resources and creation of the plastics are creating a global crisis of the waste disposal. Developed countries are notorious for producing an excessive amount of the waste or garbage and dumping their waste in the oceans, and less developed countries. Nuclear waste disposal has tremendous health hazards associated with it. Plastics, fast foods, packaging and cheap electronic waste threaten the well-being of the humans. Waste disposal is one of the urgent current environmental problems. At present, tons of garbage is produced by each household each year. Most waste is buried underground in the landfill sites. The presence of the huge landfill sites across the city pose serious environmental concern. It affects human health, degrades soil quality, affects wildlife, causes air pollution and results in the climate change. Climate change is very important environmental concern that has surfaced in the last couple of decades. It occurs due to the rise in global warming, which occurs due to the increase in temperature of the atmosphere by burning of the fossil fuel and release of the harmful gases by industries. Climate change has various harmful effects but not limited to melting of the polar ice. Change in season, occurrence of new diseases, frequent occurrence of the floods and change in the overall weather scenario are other impact. Deforestation. Our forests are the natural sink of the carbon dioxide gas and produce the fresh oxygen as well as helps in the regulation of temperature and rainfall. At present, forest covers 30% of the land, but every year tree cover is lost amounting to the country of Panama due to growing population demand for more food, shelter and cloth. Deforestation simply means clearing of the green cover and make the land available for the residence or industrial purpose or commercial purpose. Ocean acidification is a direct impact of excessive production of the carbon dioxide. 25% of the carbon dioxide is produced by the humans. The ocean acidity has increased by the last 250 years, but by 2100 it may shoot up by 150%. The main impact is on the shellfish and the planktons in the same way as human osteoporosis. Another important issue is ozone layer depletion. Ozone layer is a layer of gas 25 to 30 km above the Earth's surface. It mainly contains ozone, which is naturally occurring molecule containing 3 oxygen atoms. This layer is present in the stratosphere and prevent too many harmful UV rays entering into the Earth. Ozone layer is capable of absorbing most of the harmful ultraviolet radiations emitted by the sun. However, during the last several decades, human and industrial activities has contributed a lot, which has resulted in the considerable reduction in the ozone layer of the atmosphere. The main causes of the depletion of the layer is determined as excessive release of the chlorine and bromine from the man-made compounds such as chlorofluorocarbons. Acid rain simply means a rain that is acidic in nature due to the presence of certain pollutants in the atmosphere. These pollutants come in the atmosphere due to the cars or industrial processes. Acid rain can also be caused due to the man-made sources, which include combustion of the fossil fuel, which release sulfur dioxide and nitrogen dioxide into the atmosphere. Acid rain can have devastating effect on aquatic life, forest, public health and architecture or buildings. Figure 2 displays the acidic rain. Another important environmental issue is water pollution. Clean drinking water is becoming a rare commodity. Water is becoming an economic and political issue as the human population fights for the resources. One of the options suggested is using the process of desalinization. Industrial development is filling our rivers, seas and ocean with the toxic pollutant, which are a major threat to the human health according to Barucha. The current environmental problems pose a lot of risk to the health of humans and animals. Dirty water is the biggest health risk of the world and poses threat to the quality of life and hence to the public health. Runoff to the river carries along toxins, chemicals and disease-carrying organisms. Pollutants cause respiratory disease like the asthma and cardiac vascular problems. High temperature encourage the spread of infectious disease like dengue, etc. Genetic engineering or genetic modification of the food using the biotechnology is another important issue. Genetic modification of the food results in the increased toxins and diseases as genes from an allergic plant can transfer to our target plant. Genetically modified crops can cause serious environmental problem as an engineered gene may prove toxic to the wildlife. Another drawback is that increased use of the toxins to make the insect resistant plant can cause the resultant organism to become resistant to antibiotics. Now let's see the debate on different global environmental issues we have discussed so far. According to Gallup poll conducted in 2016, the Americans are most concerned about the 6 environmental issues. The number 1 is contamination of the drinking water. Contamination of the fresh water used for the household needs, including pollution of rivers, lakes and reservoirs, tanks top on the list of the environmental concern for 61% of the citizens. The Environmental Protection Agency, that is EPA, in 2016 has set standards to ensure the quality of drinking water to protect public health by limiting the level of various contaminants like microorganisms, disinfectants and their byproducts. Inorganic compounds, organic compounds and radionuclides. Water pollution. Generally, worry over water pollution and associated environmental issues greatly concerns more than half of all the citizens who participated in 2016 poll. Many water sources like streams, rivers and oceans are getting polluted. Related issues include the acid rain, nutrient pollution, ocean dumping, urban runoff, oil spills, ocean acidification and waste water. A 2016 Guardian report says half of the river in Asia, Africa and South America are polluted. In the US, there are 12 to 18 million waterborne diseases reported in a year and half of which are spread through the rains. Globally, certain foodborne diseases outbreaks are linked to the water pollution. The next important concern is the air pollution. Concerns over the air pollutions have remained steady over the last decades, with more than 40% of the Americans worried about the indoor and outdoor air quality. Carbon emissions and pollutants like particulate matter, sulfur oxides, volatile organic compounds, radon and refrigerants. 92% of the world population live in the places with the polluted air according to the WHO report in 2016. Each year 3 million deaths occur due to outdoor air pollution. Though the situation is better in US, there are still approximately 2 lakh premature deaths due to the air pollution mainly caused by the car emission according to the Massachusetts Institute of Technology report conducted in 2013. The wildlife conservation and species extinction is another important point of debate. The world is currently experiencing its 6th extinction event driven by the human activities according to World Wildlife Fund report in 2015. It is estimated to be 1,000 to 10,000 times faster than the natural extinction rates, and each year about 200 to 2,000 species go extinct. Mother Nature Network, that is MNN, report that 38% of all land animals and 81% of freshwater vertebrates went extinct between 1970 to 2012 due to the habitat loss and land degradation. Loss of tropical rainforest is another important issue. Nearly 40% of the Americans are worried about distant problems like the loss of tropical forest. Rainforests cover only 2% of the land but support 50% of its species. Yet among tropical forests, the area of the rainforest cleared is the maximum and most of it is export driven. Every year an area of rainforest the size of the New Jersey is cut down and destroyed. The another important issue is of climate change or of the global warming. Climate change and issues related to global warming was a concern for 37% of the citizens in 2016 report. This includes the troposphere ozone depletion caused by the CFCs, that is chlorofluorocarbons, increase in the level of emission of the greenhouse gases by people, trap heat and have resulted in the global warming. A NASA report records that temperatures are 1.7 degree Fahrenheit more since 1880 and there is a decrease of 13% per decade in the Arctic sea cover and about a 7-inch increase in the sea level over the last 100 years. Moreover, warmer oceans, glaciers melting on the mountain tops and extreme events increasing in the US are presented as evidences of the climate change by the NASA. Now let's see the biological pollutants. The United States Environmental Protection Agency EPA in 2016 report conveyed that biological contaminants are produced by the living things. These include bacteria, virus, mold, mildew, dust, mites and pollens as indoor pollutants. They are found in the places where there is a food and moisture available. They can cause allergic reactions or infectious diseases to which the children and elderly people are more susceptible. A carbon footprint is the amount of carbon emissions each person creates. Individual can reduce this footprint and their effect on the environment through the use of the renewable energy sources. Solar power, geothermal power, heat pumps, recycling and sustainable living. The next issue is of consumerism. Overconsumption affects the planet. Natural resources are finite and are being destroyed by the current consumption patterns. A 2017 scientific study says that global supply chains are threatening in many biodiversity hotspots. Moreover, 50 to 80% of the resource use is dictated by the household consumptions as per the study conducted in 2015 by Stedler et al. Then dams and their impact on the environment can also be felt. The World Wildlife Fund report in 2016 found that there are 48,000 dams built in the world. They are built to provide water for the drinking and irrigation and energy purposes. However, they lead to the habitat destructions, species loss and displacing millions of the people. Fishing and its impact on the marine ecosystem can also be felt. Many forms of the fishing like the blast fishing, cyanide fishing, bottom trawling, whaling and overfishing have had an adverse effect on the aquatic life. According to MNN report, there has been a decrease in the population of 36% of species from sardines to baleen whales due to the over harvesting as per the study done by the Mother Nature Network in 2016. The effects that additives like hormones, antibiotics, preservatives and toxins contamination or that lack of the quality control can have on the health. Each year, 1 in 6 Americans get sick from eating contaminated food, as per the report made by Center for Disease Control and Prevention, that is CDC, in 2015. People are concerned about the genetically modified food, that is GMOs, and genetic pollution. Nearly 85% of the food in US had genetically modified food in 2015 and were difficult to identify as they are not required to be labeled, as per the National Geographic report by Worrell in 2015. Farming is another field which is affected. Monoculture irrigation and excessive use of the chemical fertilizers and pesticides lead to the loss of soil fertility and increase in the carbon emission. Similarly, cattle rearing in industrial farming relies on the antibiotics that pose a health risk for the people, as per the Intergovernmental Panel on Prevention of Climate Change IPCC report points out. The report conveys that in many parts of the world, cattle rearing causes overgrazing, forest destructions and degradation and methane emissions. Logging and clear cutting destroys the wildlife habitat and are among the leading cause of the species extinction. Moreover, this also contributes to the global warming as trees trap the greenhouse gas emissions and in their absence these emissions increases. Mining is another important issue which need to be paid attention. Mining has negatively impacted the natural forest and wildlife, hurt living environment for people, leads to the leaching of the toxic pollutants and heavy metals that pollute the water and are pointed out. The another important field is of nanotechnology and future effect. Nanoparticles could pollute the soil and groundwater and eventually get into the food chain where there can be a health risk. However, the health risk they pose are unknown since research in this area has been deemed irresponsible and therefore unfeasible, according to the report of American Society of Safety Engineers. The natural disaster, another factor which contributes to the environmental issues. The natural disasters like earthquake, volcano, tsunamis, floods, tornadoes, hurricanes, avalanches, landslides and forest fires are the ones that affect the people and environment. As the UCS report on global warming points out that there has been an increase in the extreme weather events like snowfall, storms and flood in the US linked to climate change. Statistica reports that besides the US, China and the Philippines are the worst affected with the total fatalities amounting to several hundred thousands. The nuclear issues is another important field. Concerns over the impact of the population reliance on the nuclear power such as the nuclear fallout, nuclear meltdown and production of the long-lasting radioactive waste trouble many Americans. Greenpeace in 2016 considers the nuclear energy slow and expensive, concluding that risk far outweigh its benefit. Then soil erosion, soil salinization and soil contamination by the waste pesticides, heavy metals and persistent organic pollutants worries the citizens of America. As we all know, soil is necessary for supporting the life and economy. Development of the sustainable communities depends on reducing the reliance on the fossil fuel, supporting the local farmers and merchants, encouraging the green practices and building consideration of the native wildlife, adoption of the mass transportation and cleaner method of commuting. Sustainable development is necessary to ensure the human needs like housing are met, to protect the resources and biodiversity, to control the climate change and for a stable economy. Toxic chemicals are used in industry, agricultural laboratories, hospitals, waste management system and includes the chlorofluorocarbons, heavy metals, pesticides, herbicides, toxic waste, DDTs, bioaccumulations and endocrine disruptors, asbestos. These can also arise from the poorly implemented hazardous waste management. These can be solid, liquid or gaseous and can pollute the air, water and the soil. When they enter the food chain, they pose a health risk, especially for the children and elderly people. Waste generation and management create a view of environmental issues such as litter, landfills, incineration, marine debris, e-waste and contamination of the water and soil caused by the improper disposal and leaching toxins. According to Encyclopedia, there is a need for change. By raising the awareness in our local communities and within our families about these issues, we can generate the awareness. We can contribute to a more environment conscious and friendly place to live, as environmental protection and preservation of the planet is the responsibility of every individual and community on the earth. Now let's summarize the module. So far we have learnt in this module that human beings have to take the right action towards saving the Mother Earth from the major environmental issues or problems. Global warming has become an undisputed fact. Increased human activity, urbanization, industrialization have led to the rapid deterioration of the environment. Pollution of the air, water and soil requires millions of years to recoup. Industry and the motor vehicles exhaust are major air pollutants. Climate change like the global warming is the result of human practices like emission of the greenhouse gases. The population of the planet is reaching the unsustainable level as it faces the shortage of resources of earth, namely water, fuel and food due to the natural resource depletion. Population explosion in less developed and developing countries is straining the already scarce resources. Human activity is leading to the extinction of the species and habitat and a loss of the biodiversity. Ocean acidification is a direct impact of the excessive production of carbon dioxide. There is considerable reduction in the ozone layer of the atmosphere due to the human activities. Clean drinking water, waste disposal, genetically modified food, deforestation are some other important environmental issues which need to be paid attention. The current environmental problem pose a lot of risk to the health of humans and as well as of the animals. The need for change in our daily lives and the movements of our government is growing. By raising the awareness in our community and within our families about these issues can be of important contribution to a more environment conscious and friendly place for us to live in. Thank you.